Well, my dear students of class 8A and 8B, today's lesson is the American War of Independence. Chapter number 3, the American War of Independence. In the previous class, I discussed about the role of the Americans and the role of the, British government. What role did the British play during the War of American Independence? The British from the very beginning were conscious about their rights, because during the period when the British had established their colonies in America, it was very important to them to collect the natural resources of America for her industries, because industrial revolution took place during the mid of 18th century, but the British also established their colonies in America during mid of 18th century. That's why, my dear students, it was very important to the British manufacturers, British industrialists, to collect natural resources of America, because America was a country full of natural resources, full of free cheap laborers. That's why the British government wanted to utilize it properly. And ultimately, what happened? The first point, discovery of America. The America was discovered by whom? America was discovered by Christopher Columbus. But after the discovery of America, the British, among European countries, England was the first country to observe the importance of America. They realized that that very country, America, where many natural resources were available, this part of this country should be made their colony. That's why America had become colony under the British. After the discovery of America in the 15th century, but America was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 15th century. From that time, Britain had keen interest for America. But when industrial revolution took place in England, Britain realized that it was the right time to have their political control over America, in order to collect its natural resources. Although other European countries also made an attempt to make America as their colonies. The names of these countries are France, Spain, Holland, France, Spain, Holland. But out of these countries, only one country, Britain, decided to establish colonies and settlements in the New World. And this new world, why was it New World? It was known as New World because of the discovery of Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus named it New World. Christopher Columbus discovered America and named it New World. And after the discovery of America, America was discovered in 15th century AD by Christopher Columbus. But after his discovery, this country was left useless. Although many countries of Europe intended to have established their colonies over there, but England was the first country to realize its importance and establish their colonies in America. That means in New World. And next point, 13 colonies. How many colonies had England established over there? England established 13 colonies in America. In America, England had established 13 colonies. And by the mid 18th century, these settlements, 13 colonies were established along the eastern coast of North America, and the majority of the settlers were from Britain. Those who already had established their settlements over there, they all were the majority of that group of people were from England, were from Britain, who established their political control over there. And each colony had its assembly. Each colony, the 13 colonies which were established by Britain in America, in North America, each colony had its own assembly, and each, you know, one elected representative also was there, who always made, framed laws, levied taxes on the colonies. As these were British colonies, the British government, appointed a governor to look after the works of the colonies. The British government appointed a governor in each of these colonies. Then each colony had its own governor, and each governor was appointed by the British government. The governor's main task, what was the main task of the governor? The main tasks of the governor, the main task of the governor was to promote British interests, was to safeguard British interests, but not the interests of others. The British government enforced high taxes and many restrictions of free trade, free business, and commerce. But these measures hindered the economic development of the colonies. Ultimately, it led to increasing resentment among the colonies because of imposition of taxes, imposition of many restrictions on the North American colonies, forced them to, to show their anger, to show their dissatisfaction and opposition to the British government, rights to enact laws and tax the colonists without any representation in the British Parliament began to emerge as well. That means the governor, each province had its own governor appointed by the British government. They were the direct representatives of the British government. They would have to make one report of administrative system, social, political, economic condition, and send it to the British government. As per the report, the British government decided what to do and what not to do. Another thing is that the governor's main task was to promote British interests. That means everyone of a country, every citizen of a country always show their interest to safeguard the interest, to safeguard their rights, to protect their, freedom, to protect their liberty. But one person, means the representative of the British, failed to fulfill its aims and objectives. In that case, who was responsible to shoulder the responsibility? It was governor of each province was asked to talk to the representatives who were there, who failed to perform well. In that case, governor would take over the responsibility of administration and directly talk to the Americans. Furthermore, the British government enforced high taxes and many restrictions on free trade, free commerce, free business, and these measures hindered the economic development. It also marked the beginning of the economic development of the colonies. This led to increasing resentment, increasing resentment among the colonists. Now, gradually, opposition to the British government's right to enact laws and tax the colonists without their representatives. The amount of taxes, the restrictions, whatever were imposed on the Americans, they raised hue and cry against that system. They openly raised their voice by asking the British government why, who why were they forced to pay taxes and revenues without having any representation in the British Parliament? They demanded their representation in the British Parliament, but the British government did not allow them to be the member of the British Parliament. On the contrary, they were imposing high taxes, high tariff, high duties on the 13 colonies. And each colony, as I mentioned earlier, had one governor. And the governor was supposed to make report to the British government after 1 month. As soon as the governor would realize that the situation, political situation of each you know, colony, each colony was very miserable, was very much, was very much aggressive. The condition was very much violent in that case, and they immediately advised the governor to take action. And the governor, according to his own jurisdiction, he made a report for the British government. According to which the British government will decide whether the Americans should be given more and more economic concessions, more and more conveniences, or they would talk to them. But America wanted to be self-sufficient, wanted to make their country free from British control. That's why America had no interest to talk the British government regarding the policy of imposition taxes and revenues on them. But they uttered only one point, that was no representation without taxation. Then first of all they demanded their representation in the British Parliament, so that the people of the whole world must hear them, must come to know the miserable conditions of the Americans there. That's why they raised hue and cry in order to accept them as one of the most important political party in America, because they had been working for the call of motherland in order to protect the motherland, but their governors and the British government who had established 13 colonies over there, they restricted, they obstructed their way of development and growth. That's why these measures, whatever the British government had adopted, there was no economic development there, no political development there, led to increasing representative among the colonies. Gradually, opposition to the British government rights to enact laws and tax also had become a great factor. Because the Americans directly raised coined one slogan, no taxation without representation. They demanded uh, membership in the British Parliament. Unless they were made the member of the British Parliament, they they would be they would not interested. They would not interested. They did not have any interest to pay the taxes forcefully. The British government wanted to collect from them. Only for that reason, they demanded their representation in the British Parliament and began to emerge and grow. So these were the factors, my dear students. The British government took precautionary measures. Now, the role of the British government, what role did the British government play? The British government played a very important role in making the country America as their colony. Number one, the British government appointed a number of governors for each province. There were many provinces in America, and the British established 13 colonies and at the same time decided to appoint one governor for each colony. That means each colony had one governor. Now, what was the work of the governor? The main work of the governor is to make an interaction between the works of the colonists and works of the government. That means the colonies were working as a bridge between the colonists and the British government. And British government decided to bring certain changes in the system of administration, in the system of the country, for the all-round development of Americans. That's why Britain or British government imposed many restrictions on the Americans because the Americans had started earning a lot of money from international trade because they started exporting various goods produced from South America and some parts of North America, and they were earning a lot of money. That's why British government decided to impose taxes on them, but the Americans strongly demanded their share in the British Parliament, so that as a member of the British Parliament, they must bring it to the notice the miserable conditions of the Americans and the oppressive rule of the British. Up to this, my dear students, next day the remaining part will be continued. Thank you.